So what does it really mean to make the right choice? Well, according to the source texts we're diving into, it's all about aligning our own will with a divine one. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what that means and how the texts say it actually works.
Right at the center of this whole question, there's this tension. It's a pull between two really powerful forces that the sources tell us are shaping every single decision we make.
All right, so first things first, we need to define these two wills. These are the core elements that the texts say are basically shaping our entire spiritual destiny.
Okay, so first up, we have the divine will. Now, the sources are really clear on this. This isn't just some random list of rules from on high. Think of it more as a perfect, universal standard. It's described as this benevolent force that is always working for the ultimate good of, well, everything.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the contrast is laid out so clearly. On one side, you have the divine will, perfect, universal, always aiming for the good of everyone. But then there's our human will, which, let's be honest, can be selfish and, well, it messes up. But look closer at those last two rows, because that's where the real insight is. The divine will, it asks, but it never forces. Why? Because our human will is framed as the absolute arbiter of our own destiny. The final call, good or wicked, is always ours to make.
Okay, so if we've got this incredibly powerful free will, how in the world do we bridge that gap? How do we align it with the divine? Well, the sources actually lay out a really clear path, and it's all built on a handful of core principles.
So the sources give us this 6-step path. It all kicks off with submission, which is really about the choice to love God's will more than your own. From there, you get goodwill, which is described as this humble, faithful obedience. Now, once you have that foundation, it allows for these key virtues to grow. You've got love, which is called the bedrock of all the commandments. Then there's humility, which means rejecting that desire for personal glory so you can serve others. And self-denial, choosing spirit over flesh. And finally, the whole thing is held together by perseverance. This isn't a one-and-done thing. It's a constant, daily effort to just stay on the path.
And this quote, this really gets to the heart of it. It's like the engine that drives this whole process. According to the texts, love isn't just another virtue on the list. No, it's the absolute foundation. It's presented as the essential commandment, the one from which all these other principles of alignment just naturally flow.
All right, so let's see how this all plays out in the real world. Because these principles, they're not just abstract ideas, right? The sources make them super concrete by giving us these powerful examples of real people who had to grapple with this exact choice.
First up, we have Mary, who is held up as the #1 model of this perfect alignment. And the key point the texts really hammer home is why. Her acceptance of God's plan was totally unwavering. And not just when things were good, but through moments of just immense personal suffering. That's the real test, right? And of course, Jesus himself is shown as the ultimate standard. He says it so clearly. His entire purpose, his glory, is found in one simple thing: doing the will of the Father. It's like he's handing his followers a perfect blueprint for how to do this.
Now, this quote is really powerful. It comes from the story of Matthew's conversion, and it's used to show something amazing: the incredible, transformative power that gets unlocked the moment a person freely chooses to use their goodwill. I mean, think about that. It suggests that one single choice can literally work divine miracles.
Okay, this comparison is maybe one of the most powerful illustrations in all the texts. You've got Peter and Judas. Both were right there, close to Jesus, but their paths went in wildly different directions. Peter, for all his faults, ultimately chooses obedience. He becomes a rock. Judas, on the other hand, refuses to let go of his own ego, his own desires. And the sources say something fascinating here, that his choice actively counteracted the grace, the divine help that was being offered to him. And that single difference in will led to a completely, tragically different outcome.
So this brings up a really important question, right? If we're supposed to align with this divine will, how do we even know what it is? How is that knowledge actually communicated to us and, passed down over time?
Well, the sources point to a bunch of different channels. Sometimes it can be really direct, like through divine communication or the Holy Spirit. Of course, it also comes through the teachings and the example that Jesus set. And then that knowledge is preserved and passed down through institutions, in the scriptures, tradition, and through the church itself. And finally, we can access it on a personal level through things like meditation and prayer.
And really, this entire concept, this whole journey, it all comes together in one single powerful line. It's from a prayer that Jesus taught his disciples: "Thy will be done." It's so much more than just a phrase, isn't it?
It's presented as the core verbal act of submission. It's the moment you consciously align your own will with the divine plan.
And that leaves us with a final, really profound thought to chew on. The sources are crystal clear that our free will is the absolute arbiter, the ultimate deciding factor in our destiny. So the question we're left with isn't just what we should choose, it's why. Why were we given this incredible, awesome freedom in the first place? And what does that say about the immense weight of every single choice we make?